Each morning, real RSI setups are broken down with entry strategies and the technical reasoning behind every trade. This is RSI Trade the Day with Verified Investing.
Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Thank you guys so much for joining me this Thursday morning. Yesterday in the markets, we had some beaten up stocks that were just getting hammered down 20+%. And then we had other ones 14, 15, 20% to the upside. The great thing is the RSI tells me which stocks are in play today. And so we're actually going to dive into the optional or the movements from yesterday's moves and give you setups for today's price action going into the open. So the first thing I wanted to go over is Norwegian Cruise Line Holding, NCLH. It did pierce, it got to our level, our initial level, and then we got a little bit of a bounce. It did end up closing below that entry point and then getting stopped out on a 15-minute closing basis. So here's the chart of NCLH. This was at level at $18.42. Again, it did close below on a 15-minute closing basis, so that would have stopped out. As you can see, $18.67 is where it's currently trading. My next level on NCLH is $17.42 for long. I'm not looking to go short. Look at what's going on with the RSI. It is now below 20 with an oversold stock. If it starts breaking down below $17.42, it could head even lower. So on a swing trading basis, I would make sure and put a stop out. Rigetti is still technically in play as far as a head and shoulders pattern. Depending on where you draw your neckline, it could be right at that neckline for the head and shoulders pattern. I'm still monitoring this. If it closes above this upsloping trend line on a daily closing basis, it is off of the table. It is no longer a good head and shoulders pattern. One of the stocks that was up big time is LITE. This thing is just a monster. It's making all-time highs, and it just seems to be unstoppable. So I've got some key technical levels. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the 1-minute time frame and show you what happened yesterday and why I'm still expecting a little bit more upside, and show you what it's doing in the pre-market. Here we go. LITE. Look at what happened in the market hours. You had this nice big move to the upside on LITE, and then a little bit of a sell-off. And then all of a sudden, I want you to notice what happened with the RSI. The RSI never got below the 30 until about 2:30 in the afternoon. What I look at is support levels. If we fail to break support levels when the RSI is at 30, then it's likely to go higher. It did in the end of the day, but this could have been an end of day sell-off. But look at where price action is currently trading. It's at $243.22. LITE on the daily time frame. I have this beautiful trend line. It goes from the 13th of August, 2025, secondary pivot, the 10th of September. If it gets back up above $250, this is my shortable level. What I really like about LITE is look at the volatility. You have about a 16% move to the downside, consolidation, and then look at this. Big move to the upside, and then a big fall. I love stocks when they have volatility. This indicates that there are a lot of buyers, euphoria in the markets. $250 is my shortable level for a day trade today. This could be more of a swing trade. I'm not looking for too much on the downside, 10, 15%, take profits, wait for the RSI to reset a little bit, see if there's additional volatility, and continue to play it that way. LMND is another stock that has been catastrophic. It's still not at all-time highs, but it had a huge push up. It actually had a pivot that it actually got pulled back from, and now it's actually moving up a little bit. It's actually right at that level now. I'm going to go over that with you, show you what's going on in this chart of LMND. Always go into the daily time frame, the 1-minute time frame. Look at the price action on LMND. It looked like we were going to get a little bit of a sell-off in the morning session, and then the markets and LMND just continue to go higher. And then I'm going to show you here in a second where it stopped, $79.54. Here's the daily time frame, $79.54. This high pivot goes back to the 3rd of November of 2021. There have been people who are stuck in this trade when price action is down as much as LMND was, 87, 86%. And then when you get price action coming back in there, there are going to be people who are willing to reduce their share sizes and push this back down. LMND now has the potential, if it consolidates a little bit more, it could bust through the $79.54 level. On the RSI, you are trading at 75 with an extended move from the lows of October. Look at this, 70% to the upside. I think this right now is more of a max upside. So expect a pullback on LMND. If it does decide to close above this on a 15-minute closing basis, I would stop out and wait for our next level, which is this high pivot point and this gap fill at $90.96, or sorry, $89.88. That is that gap fill on the charts. And then that is what I'm looking at. Pinterest. This is another stock that I'm really enjoying looking at. This has got a great RSI on the daily time frame. Price action just faded all afternoon. And then all of a sudden it got to this $25.32 level. This was a major gap fill in the charts. So I'm going to go to the daily time frame on Pinterest. It hit this gap fill and then got a nice bounce. Now it's up to $26.10, about a 1.5% move. What I'm looking at in Pinterest, I still think it has a little bit lower to go. So my long level is $23.68. Another thing that I really like about the Pinterest chart is look at where the RSI is trading. You had some nice selling pressure. It closed below 30 on the RSI. Pinterest is at the lows. This is telling me that Pinterest is now being oversold. However, it still has a little bit more downside. This is where I'm picking it up, $23.68. One of the stocks that had been in my charts in the past is Iren. Had a great pullback, and now all of a sudden it is heading higher. Iren, I have a key technical level. This one was up over 14% yesterday. Had a great sideways consolidation, so I do expect a little bit more upside, but not a lot. Let's go ahead and dive into that chart of Iren. Always going into the 1 minute time frame to see what's going on. Look at what happened. You had this nice move to the upside, had a little bit of a pullback, got about a 4%, 3.5% pullback. And then with the rest of the markets, Iren just continued to rocket to the upside. Never had you started entering this on a Pierce of 70, you would have never really got an opportunity to exit this trade, and you would have been stuck short on Iren. So now we go to the daily time frame and look at this high pivot from the 3rd of July, secondary pivot at 15th of October. So my shortable level today is a Pierce of $85. This would be the third hit of this upswing trend line. This is going to be some key resistance. It doesn't mean that it's going to get up to the $85 level. So if you wanted to start trading this at $80 and then add at $82.50 and then max upside is $85, that's one way to play this. I'm going to start maybe a little bit earlier than the $85. The $85 level is just a key technical resistance level. And so I'm okay with getting into the trade a little bit early and dollar cost averaging up. So that way I can take advantage, increase the amount of shares that I have all the way up into that level, and then wait for a pretty significant pullback. I'm looking for a 2, 3, even a 4% pullback, especially if it can get up to that level within the first 10, 15 minutes. You could even take as much as 5 or 6%. Now let's go into SanDisk. SanDisk is another one that I'm looking at. I'm not going to the daily time frame. What I want to mention, though, is you've got this beautiful upsloping trend line. I had a max upside of about $212. It did get a nice pullback from that level. Now I'm targeting a short level above 225. One thing I caution you, when I look at the RSI, I love to look at the RSI when there's volatility in the market. You had a little bit of volatility here, but now it's starting to wane a little bit. This could mean that the sellers are not being able to control the price and push it down, or the buyers are just too strong in SanDisk and want to continue to push it up. I want you to think about a key psychological level. If you get up to the $225 and you are long, you are looking to take profits. And where are you going to take it? at a quarter round or a quarter number. So think about 25, 50, 100, 75. Those are all numbers that we're accustomed to in the clock. You know, you got the 15-minute time frame, but it's still a quarter. You got a change at a quarter, you know, get 50 cents, 75 cents. So this is where a lot of people like to put their exits. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to hit it. It could actually pull back right before that $225 level, but that is where I'm targeting a short on SanDisk. Overall, I think it's overextended. This would be more for a day trade. OKLO is another stock I wanted to go over. This one did negate the head and shoulders pattern. It did close above this neckline, so now it has been invalidated. My next shortable level is $158.61. Nvidia was somebody was commenting on this. So far, I've caught the top in Nvidia. I did say it could go up to $210 and has had a significant pullback. I would only be looking for about a 10% pullback in Nvidia, which would take us down to about $191. That is where I would look to go long, with knowing that there's a gap fill at $186. So I have a bonus trade for you. If we can get some volatility in this market, SMCI could head a little bit lower. This thing was oversold, getting into a key technical level. Let's go ahead and go into SMCI. My long level is a long below $40. $39.89 is what I'm looking as far as a long play. Oversold, not quite oversold on the RSI. Oftentimes, stocks like this don't ever reach the 30, even with these sharp sell-offs. So this is why I would be interested in getting in, even if it's above the 40 on the above the 30 on the RSI. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I've tried to set this up a little bit differently. You guys could take advantage of the trades, look exactly where my short level is. And if you need to go back and rewind so that way you can set your levels, set your alerts, set your orders, go ahead and do that. Thanks again for joining me. If you guys are liking this and getting something out of this, make sure you're sharing with your friends, liking, subscribing, following, and please stay tuned. Garrett Soloway is going to be going over what happened in the earnings yesterday. Like Duolingo is down 30%. It's incredible. He's going to go over the volatility. You guys don't want to miss that. He'll be going live in less than 3 minutes. And we'll see you guys in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.